Hi, thanks again for tuning into Sin's Workshop. Hope you're all having a great day. So today we're going to be talking about the Knucklehead of Silicon Valley. I had a hard time getting into this novel. Espionage, thrillers, they're not really my cup of tea. But I was asked to review this novel by a fellow Emersonian. I went to Emerson College, so I'm always willing to pay favors to other Emersonians. And I gave it a shot, and ultimately, it was kind of a bore, to be perfectly honest. It follows Ralph. He's an investor, Silicon Valley. He invests in many projects. He travels across the world. He has many relations with people in Russia, and China, and England, India. He has a lot of world traveler, and everyone thinks he's a spy. And he's not quite sure he's a spy. But I think what really got me is... How do you not know you're a spy? Sorry, it just really bothered me. I wasn't really understanding the premise of the story. Because at first you're all like, okay, so this dude thinks he's a spy. Had a really good opening chapter, but then it jumps around a lot. And I think that's part of why I wasn't really to get sucked into the novel, because it really jumped. You're in 1974, you're in the 1990s, you're in 2016, and everywhere in between. It's non-linear, and I'm usually okay with that. I'm okay with non-linear storytelling as long as it makes sense. I think the problem here is it just jumped way too much, and I'm kind of lost interest halfway through it, because I want to know, after that great opening, is he a spy? Does he just know about the spy world and is unfortunately just caught in the middle of it? What is happening here? It was just so, oh god, I just was not able to lose myself in the story. In fact, I felt lost by it because of all this time jumping, because it was some of these events were so somewhat inconsequential to the overall storyline. I didn't understand what was happening, and I wanted to know, is he a spy? I feel like early on it kind of loses that perspective of telling the reader if he's a spy or not. He had some spy training. He thinks. He's not quite sure. He's not that bright either. I didn't find Ralph to be that charismatic as a character worth following. I was often confused by his age. I'm like, wait, how old is he? What? In some parts where he's supposed to be older, he sounds much younger. In some parts where he's much younger, he sounds much older. So I think the tone of his internal narrative was off as well. But once again, it all goes to the non-linear storytelling. I think the story would have focused better if it started at one point, went to the past, and then just sort of went forward from there. You can kind of see, there are some chapters where you're like, oh, this is how it ties into the past. Great. But again, it also seems inconsequential. And it doesn't happen often. You're not just like, what does this have to do with just happened in the 1990s? What does this have to do with what just happened in 2000? You're kind of left confused by the overall storytelling. So I wasn't really able to lose myself in the story, unfortunately. I was very upset by that, because I expected more of a espionage kind of thriller with a comedic undertone, something kind of like Get Smart. I looked at this and I'm like, oh, maybe it'll be like Get Smart, because I love Get Smart, the original TV show, and I did like the movie rendition with Steve Carell. I wasn't pissed off by it, but I think overall that it just sort of lost me halfway through it because I wasn't so engaged with it. I just thought it was lackluster. I wasn't in love with the premise, to be perfectly honest. I was hoping for something kind of like Get Smart because, let's face it, Smart is kind of like this idiot spy, and things kind of just end up going his way. And I was hoping for that. Like, okay, maybe he's not a spy and everyone just thinks he's a spy. You know, those moments in the novel, I will say, were funny. Every time he goes through security, they're like, why didn't you just say the password? And he's like, I'm not a spy. I'm not who you think I am. Those parts of the story were entertaining because you kind of feel bad for Ralph because everyone thinks he's a spy and he doesn't know. Like, am I a spy? What's going on? Or am I just kind of like, oh God, what's that phrase? I don't know. Maybe he's just the red herring. He makes everyone makes everyone look at him versus looking at the real objective. You know, they're just kind of using him to pass things along without letting him know he's passing things along. I thought that was really interesting. You know, I did like that aspect of the story. I just kept getting lost. It was very hard to follow. I didn't think the pacing was executed very well. I just think the story would have been better if it hadn't jumped back and forth so many times, you know, because it does jump back and forth a lot. And the chapters that follow that don't have a year, more often, I'm assuming, you know, that they are within the same timeline of, in the same period of what year has just been announced. But I personally just wasn't able to lose myself in it. You know what I mean? I just wasn't able to do that. And the fact that I was so confused just left me wanting more, honestly. I really did want more from this story. So, you know, ultimately, I have to give this novel 4 stars. You know, I do have to give this novel 4 stars. So this was The Knucklehead of Silicon Valley. You can go ahead and purchase it on bookshop.org if you are interested. If you're not, if you're hesitant about it, you can go ahead and check it out from your local library. But once again, you know, I just found it very hard to follow. I didn't think Ralph was charismatic. I thought it lacked something. I think it lacked charisma overall. So, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Please don't forget to also support me by subscribing to my podcast. And on that note, happy reading.